Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shankar Gupta. Today my guest is an unusual holy man. He is a holy man whose appeal cuts across all kinds of boundaries, of region, of religion, of caste and creed, even nations and continents. But what also makes him unusual is the fact that he says unusual things, where holy men now acquire a reputation for dividing people, for preaching distance, for preaching division. Here is somebody who talks about reconciliation, who talks about solutions. People come to him for answers to their own spiritual problems and solutions and doubts. But now he's also been talking about solving some of our major political problems. For example, the Mandir Masjid dispute in Ayodhya. He's been talking about it. He's even met the Prime Minister lately. He has many ideas, not just on Mandir and the Masjid, but generally on how to bring the communities, people together. To talk more about this, I am now joined by who else but Shri Ravi Shankar ji.
Namaskar.
Ravi Shankar ji, you talked about solving the Ayodhya problem. Now many people have tried, politicians have tried, courts have been wrestling with the problem, holy people have tried, religious leaders have tried, liberals, everybody has given it a shot. What makes you think that this particular formula might work? And if you could also talk about your formula a little bit.
You know, you have to keep trying until you succeed. You have to keep on finding new ways, because as time changes, strategies will have to change also.
No, but if I understand your formula correctly, it actually implies that first of all, the Hindus apologize to the Muslims for destroying the mosque, and in return, as a gesture, the Muslims give over the land and give up all the claims on the site in favor of the Hindus.
Yeah, see, it's quite but a nature of civilized person to say, I'm sorry if you are hurt by any of my deeds or words. You know, asking for an apology is not anything that would take away one's self-respect. In fact, it enhances one's self-respect. And at the same time, if there is a give and take tendency between both the communities, it can do wonders.
But is a give and take spirit possible? There's been so much distance, so much bitterness, riots, destruction of an old mosque, anger after that. It's now become such a big political issue, among the Hindus as well as the Muslims, and particularly people who led the movement for the construction of the temple, or before that for the destruction of the mosque. You really think they'll come forward and apologize?
You know, this has to come from both sides. See, from this country has suffered a lot from the beginning, from many years now, before under Aurangzeb, and then after Mughals, and then from our own caste and creed divisions. So we have to now find out a solution where we bring people together, and court is not going to bring people together at all. So we need
why do you say so? Because we've been banking on the courts to solve this for a long time now.
See, in the court, whoever wins is really a loser.
How do you say so?
Because you win in the court, but you lose the goodwill of the other community. Even if something is left, that will also be lost. But if you give the place to the Hindus, and then Hindus come closer to Muslims also, then there is a tremendous goodwill that can be generated between the communities.
So what you think is that an issue that's been dividing people could actually bring them together?
Bring them together if we do it out of court settlement.
You see, an out of court settlement, I don't know, because the reason the government has thrown this in the Supreme Court is simply that nobody seems to have the courage to handle this.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to face this issue head on. So might as well leave it to the courts. The courts take their own sweet time in India. And maybe they will decide, maybe they will not decide. But really, unless there is religious leadership on both sides, or political leadership that sits down and talks, how can such a solution be implemented? Who is going to tell Hindu organizations that this is the way to go? Who is going to talk to the Muslims and say, look, if the Hindus actually come up with this, settle with them. This will have long-term benefits.
It has to be a collective effort. It cannot be an overnight thing. When people start thinking and talking these terms, right, of truth and reconciliation, coming together, and not just going on with theories and philosophies which are not so practical today's life. You know, as times are changing, and I think people have to revise their strategies.
You know, you talk about what is practical and what is modern and what is plausible and what is pragmatic. I mean, we are standing in Rishikesh on the banks of the Ganga. You know, people don't come here with ideas that are practical or plausible or which are modern, or you know, people come to these ghats out of sheer faith. You know, they don't question history, they don't question archaeology, they don't talk about what's today's wisdom and what's good for tomorrow. They come here because they inherited something in the past,
Right.
and they treat that as
Faith,
faith and carry on.
faith, yeah. And you know, faith is not opposed to pragmatism. Faith is not opposed to science at all. You know, faith very well goes with our scientific temperament as well.
But
In fact, there are what I would call as the scientific dogmas sometimes. You know,
No, but how can you say so in times when, you know, people confuse faith not just with history but also with science?
that's why I'm saying that one has to keep learning, should not stop learning.
But how
Keep
do you,
on learning.
how do you ensure that when people say, look, this is history because I believed it, you know, and people say something happened on the banks of this river a million years ago.
Yeah.
Now, if an archaeologist or historian may turn around and tell you, but nothing happened here a million years ago. But you don't want to believe it because it's your faith. And now you have a situation where people are confusing faith with science. So they say anything that was to be discovered was discovered. A Hindu might say in Vedic times. A Muslim might say all the wisdom that's there, scientific or otherwise, is there in the Quran. So how do you take people back to thinking in modern terms?
They should have a comparative study of all different faiths and religion in the world. You know, if everybody learns a little bit about every other religion, then there is an open-mindedness comes. Because once we keep that open-mindedness and ability to probe the truth, the quest of truth, that spiritual arena, you know, when spirituality is something which can unite people.
Can you do this in a religious paradigm, you know, in religious parameters? You know, when you come from a holy mindset, a religious mindset, can you then be rational? And can you then appreciate what the other faith is saying?
Absolutely possible, and that's the beauty of this country. We have been having this. You go to any of these ashrams, see, you will find there is pictures for every other saint in the country. And
No, but you know,
abroad,
every other saint will be a Hindu saint.
No, the saint is Hindu saints, but we do accept you know, faith from all other religions. You go to any, there will be a picture of Jesus, there will be a place for Quran, there will be, you know, many ashrams today. They talk about one in all and all in one. So this concept of
But that's
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has been in this
No,
country.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is all the world is a family.
Is a family.
Now that's now become a slogan. Everybody talks about it. Who practices it?
I think we need not lose that hope because it's already in our genes, in our whole thing here. We are doing it. I think people are realizing it everywhere else in the world also. There is more interfaith dialogues all over the world. Wherever you go, intercultural, interfaith dialogues are happening.
But going back specifically to the issue of Ayodhya, are you dismayed that there's been no dialogue amongst communities? The Hindus and the Muslims have never spoken to each other. Only their politicians or, you know, you've talked about people with personal interests or political interests
Right.
thwarting a solution. But it seems as if only those people are speaking. No one else is.
I think there is a certain amount of fear in people to get into this issue. Everyone say, why should I get into this problem, you know? And just postponing a problem is not a solution at all, because it's will not.
Where does the fear come from?
Perhaps from the religious authorities of their communities.
No, I mean if liberal Hindus or if forward-looking Hindus were to follow your advice or follow your formula, Who do they have to fear? They may have to fear what they might lose in terms of electoral prospects or in terms of political gain. They don't have to fear any religious authority, do they?
Right, right. But that faith in that place as Ram's birthplace has been so strong, and the struggle is not today's, it's from 300-400 years old struggle. And it's had to be seen, you know, in a different light now. We have to see that.
No, if you say the faith is so strong and the struggle is 300-400 years old, then nobody is going to settle it. Courts are not going to settle it, as you say.
Right.
Even
right,
archaeology
right,
is not going to
right,
settle it.
Right.
Now, then why this whole digging exercise?
Talk to the community and solve it. See, already there is a Ram Lala statue that's there and puja is being performed last 50 years. You think that can be removed now? That can be removed and a mosque can be rebuilt there? Is this practical? And even if you rebuild a mosque there, will it have a mass appeal for the people? Is it a holy place for Muslims? Will thousands of people go there? Will the economy of the place will improve with that? It's not going to.
So, but doesn't it require more reasoning that the Hindus must do with the Muslims? That look, we believe that Lord Ram was born here. We have, our faith tells us that. So forget history, forget archaeology,
right.
Forget the law. Right. Let's make a deal.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly we should.
Is that possible? First of all, is it possible for the Hindus to say, so let's make a deal, but we are sorry that we pulled the mosque down?
Right. Exactly.
It's possible?
I mean, we have to make it possible if we have to live together and go forward in our country.
But there are people who say this is, ye to keval jhanki hai, Kashi Mathura baki hai, this is just the beginning. And this is Hindu assertion. This is not about the temple, this is about Hindu assertion. How do you deal with that? Because if this is about Hindu assertion, then how can you apologize?
There will be always some people on both sides who may not agree with any solution. Because it's better for vote bank or whatever to keep the communities separate. I think this should be realized by the Muslims, that it's in good faith, in goodwill. They should also stretch their hand, come together, and they realize, see, Ram is such an emotional issue for Hindus. And let's come together and talk together and sit together and solve the issue.
But that's what you think the Muslims should realize.
They should also realize.
But should the Hindus also not realize that they've only been used in this process? They are also being used as vote banks. It's an emotional issue. And maybe some of the people who are using this as a political issue will be disappointed if there's a solution.
Right, possible. If this problem is solved, then both communities can come together, and the vote bank thing cannot bank on this particular issue now. But it's better, it's not solved for those who want to have a vote bank of either Hindus or Muslims.
But don't you agree that even Hindu leadership has benefited from this in terms of votes? They have cashed this check not once but twice, thrice, 4 times.
Yeah, see, it's gone even now beyond that into more problem between the communities. Divide in the society should not continue like this. I don't feel that it's a healthy thing.
Because we had several years of almost no riots. India was becoming, we were getting over our history of communal riots, communal discord, and suddenly it seems to have come back.
Right, after 9/11. And all that media embodiment after 9/11, the world over, the terrorism and that anger that people have, and Gujarat and all that, Godhra and Gujarat, this has somehow, raked up the issues and keeping the communities divided.
Now, to what extent has Ayodhya played into this, and to what extent the larger question of terrorism, these, political Islam, or militant Islam, fanaticism, Osama bin Laden and the rest, and the general international situation?
Yeah. It adds up to people's memory. And all these things build up, and an anger or a hatred towards one community becomes so strong. because you see that there are some parallel things coming from other places, and this is not healthy.
But Shri, there is also a danger of overgeneralization.
Absolutely,
Because then you
absolutely.
see every local problem as
Right.
a larger problem of one religion
Right.
or one faith
Right,
or
right,
one
right,
history.
right, right. Absolutely right.
How do you
Education, you know, that's why.
how do you counter that dangerous generalization? It is dangerous, you agree?
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Dangerous.
How do you counter that?
You have to educate people on that. That's why I said, you know, to bring people together, communities together. And I feel the one area that they can all come together is a spiritual dimension and human values.
And how do you do
social service.
How do you do that?
This you do through education, through seminars, through celebrations where people from both communities come together.
The South Africans had this idea of a national truth and reconciliation commission,
right.
where they brought the blacks and the whites together. And people talked freely, even on television, about what they had suffered, what the insecurities were. Would you support a similar idea for India?
Right.
Can it work?
Yes.
Will it bring out more bitterness, or will it?
No, you don't need to dig to the
reconciliation?
past to reconciliation, or truth and reconciliation. All that you have to do now is to move ahead and celebrate and have parties together, like we have Holi's, you know, Holi celebration.
Holi, Diwali, Christmas, they are now becoming secular festivals because everybody celebrates.
Right.
I don't think a Hindu family can say that this Christian is a Muslim, Christmas is a Christian festival, you can't celebrate.
Right.
Or a Muslim can say, but you know, Diwali is only for Hindus, you don't. In fact, when we win a cricket match, it becomes like Diwali now.
Right.
For Hindus as well as Muslims and Sikhs and everybody else.
Absolutely.
But Sri, tell me, now this whole thinking is building up that somehow there are some religions which are more extreme than others. There is overgeneralization. Then there are people in India, for example, among Hindu spiritual thinkers who say the problem only lies with monotheistic religions, or that there is a larger problem between monotheism and others like us, like the Hindus. I mean, if you just look in front, you see a temple with images of so many gods and goddesses, and you know, so we believe in diversity of everything, including gods. How does that reconcile with the idea of monotheism, which says there is only one God?
You know, one of the seed of the conflict between the monotheistic religion and the Sanatana Dharma is this misunderstanding that we also believe in many gods and goddesses.
Right.
Actually,
We, as in Hindus.
As Hindus.
I see.
The Hindus actually are also monotheistic, but they say, you know, one spirit but expressed in many ways, many forms and names. So Hindus are not polytheistic, they are also monotheistic, but they believe in variety of expression.
But they don't believe in saying, but they are not sort of very doctrinaire about it.
No. More democratic, more open.
Is that an idea you try to sell to people you meet from the more sort of more strongly monotheistic religions?
Yes, you go into our scriptures, that's exactly what we mean. So one divinity, many forms.
And what kind of response do you get when you say these things?
And people, they're really surprised and they enjoy it. They appreciate it.
I mean, in today's environment, do you really see being able to say these things to a strong follower of Christianity or Islam or even Sikhism for that matter, which is strongly monotheistic?
Yes. Of course, Sikhism and Hinduism, there is not much difference at all there. Because all our Ram, Govind, all the names are all same.
We had such a strong terrorist movement in our Punjab, which was pushing this idea of difference and distinction between Hindus and Sikhs.
You know why for that matter, within religion there is so many conflicts. Even within Muslim, there are Shia Sunni conflicts are happening. Within each religion, within Hindus, Shaivites and Vaishnavites, there used to be so much conflict. And within, Christianity there is conflict. conflict is sort of is an byproduct of a stressful mind. Within families there are conflicts, and sometimes when in the society it takes a bigger, it hooks on to the religion, Actually conflict arises out of this very...
But don't you think, Sri, that it's unfortunate that in the 21st century, when everybody is moving on and people are coming together, there's intermarriage,
Right.
people of different faiths work in the same workplace, there is still disputes over holy places, be it Ayodhya, be it Jerusalem. I mean, these are disputes which have gone back to history of 1,000 years.
Right. So it's there.
But why should it be there?
That's my question too.
No, but you are the one with the answers.
Yeah, why should it be there? If people can come together in love and in understanding, we can definitely solve this thing. See,
But-
we have not been educating our children, our people in human values.
How can you do that? I mean,
See,
are you suggesting that Hindu children should learn more about Islam and Muslims
no.
should learn more about Hinduism or Christianity?
Yeah, it should be comparative understanding of all religion. Not only that, see, a child is not taught how to be friendly. In a classroom, there are 30 children, and you ask a boy or a girl how many friends you have, they'll count on their finger, 2, 3, 4. Over a period of 4, 5 years, they have not taught a boy or a girl to be friendly with all of them. So how do you expect them to come out of the school and be friendly with millions of people around the
Those
world?
are not easy things to say in these times of clash of civilizations when you talk about,
We need to bring up the human values. Otherwise, we are going to be in a mess, because the children are so tense, so aggressive, and it's increasing day by day that the aggression in the children.
Shishi, let me ask you one more question. Since the context is Ayodhya so much, we are now getting so angry over a holy place. If a temple is built there, it will be a marvelous temple,
Yeah.
marvelous, clean, modern temple. And yet, look at the state of our own holy places as Hindus. Look at the state of Rishikesh. Look at the filth in the river, around the river. Look at the state of this bridge. This is Ram Jhula. Our faith says that Lord Ram built it, and yet we do nothing. I went to Lakshman Jhula last night. I found not even a light on it. It's so dark and so dirty and stinky and dingy. Isn't it paradoxical that we do nothing about our own holy places and fight over something which is perhaps not even there? Just look around here, just look at
Right,
the state
a
of these
sense of
ghats.
hygiene, cleanliness is generally lacking in our psyche, and which again I attribute to lack of education.
So
in
sense of
educated,
cleanliness lacking in our hearts and minds,
in our
as well
psyche.
as well as
I
our
wouldn't
lives.
generalize that everywhere everything is filthy. There are places which are kept very clean and neat. If you go to Kerala, the temples are very clean and neat. There are other parts of our country, where places are maintained very well. And if you go to any Gurudwara and the way they have maintained it, it's
But-
really appalling.
But if we approached religion, maybe if we changed our approach to religion, made it more healthy, then all of this might change.
It's a total personality development that we really need today. That total attitudinal change, that how we take care of our health, hygiene, So we started this 5H program in villages, health, hygiene, homes for people who do not have, people live in shacks.
Guruji will
Human values, harmony in diversity. These are the things that we really need to focus today.
Well, I think we need a long haul. I think this will take a lot of doing, and you made a good beginning. I think if you're able to, first of all, push this idea of a solution on Ayodhya, this might be a beginning of our own reconciliation in the country.
Yeah.
Well, that's it this week from Walk the Talk. We'll be back with you next week with a new guest, new ideas, new things to talk about. Until then, from the Walk the Talk team, goodbye.